Geek Tank Radio, News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. This episode of Geek Tank Radio is brought to you by Free Play Stool Softener. 4 out of 5 gastroenterologists agree that video game marathons can cause constipation. So before you pick up that controller, pick up a bottle of Free Play Stool Softener.
See, and he wonders why we don't actually have real geeks listen to the show.
Hey, we're doing our public service here, you guys.
What are you trying to say? Our audience is all backed up?
Bump. Okay. Anyway, I stand by that one, Brandon. That is a crucial.
Well, yeah, I can see you're standing and you're clenched. So apparently, you're a big fan of the product.
Anyway, welcome to Geek Tank Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth, and boy, we're not constipated. I'll tell you, we're ready vocally, I guess I should say. Let's just start over here. Anyway, we've got
mentally we're free flowing.
We've got more to discuss than I think we're going to be even be able to get to. But I have a beef with What If.
I don't care.
The new Disney Plus show.
I think that
I'm excited.
But here's my opinion on this. You need to just cancel your Disney Plus subscription because you're not happy with anything.
No, that's not true. We watch it practically every day.
And then you complain about it. Everything but the Bad Batch and Mandalorian.
Okay, anyway, I think you're trying to trigger me, Brandon. It's a subtle thing that I'm picking up on in this show, which it's a great show, but there's I'll get to that. It's just something I think later too.
He has found a pea under the mattress, is what he's trying to say.
I don't know if this is going to trigger Brandon or not.
I don't know if it's bad to call him a princess or not.
Okay, I want to move it along. Anyway, speaking of video games. Teaching history in video games. I mean, video games have a unique platform. The art, it's almost like a interactive movie. I mean, actually, that's kind of what it is. It's an interactive movie.
I've been saying that for years.
It may be a great place to teach history. It may not be. Brandon has actually strong opinions. I hope they'll come out in a civilized way,
I have
sir.
very strong opinions about a certain topic that has sparked this conversation.
Okay.
And it's not about what they're using. It's the game in question.
It's who's doing it.
Yeah.
It's
what they doing.
So it's more about who and the way they do it.
Right. But we'll get into that when we discuss.
We'll get into that, and I think later Brandon also has an update. We told you we're going to be keeping you up to date on the Memphis Comic and Fantasy coming up in November to just keep you posted.
I've got some news that's going to sadden a few individuals. It may make other individuals happy because it gives them an extra year to prepare. But
it gives us an extra. I don't want to spoil it. It gives us an extra hour of programming, basically.
It does, but it also, the thing that we're going to be discussing, next year we're going to make sure it gets a good spotlight.
Absolutely. So, but speaking of giving a good spotlight, and speaking of the convention, before we get to any of that, we want to give a big shout out to our friend Katherine Knowles. If you've seen any artwork related to the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention, such as our AD, our tagger. That's what she's called, a tagger.
She was a tagger. She's a street artist. She's like Banksy, but we know what she looks like.
Right.
And I got to give Katherine pure props because all I did was kind of give her a description of what I wanted, and she knocks it out of the park every time you do that.
Yeah.
She's done the artwork that we used to use for Geek Tank. Of course, AD. She's done so much work for us on the live cartoons and everything, and she can take like these most basic concepts we give her and go beyond our wildest dreams.
Yeah, and her whole family, they're just a cool family, and her father Tom Knowles is a big Star Wars geek. He and he actually teaches lightsaber fighting and things like that. But she's been coming to the convention since our second year in 2011. Well, I guess she's even more famous now, you guys. Her and her fiance appeared in Southern Bride magazine, and we shared the link on our Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention Facebook page because it mentions us. They actually met at the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention in 2015. Do you remember that, Brandon?
Oh God,
that was when we had John Delancey.
Yeah, that was a hectic year.
That was a big crowd we had, man. There was a lot of
stuff. But that was the year that John Delancey angered our Brony contingent. And they walked out of his Q&A.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a controversy, but yeah. So Katherine met there, and they go a little deeper into this. But there are a couple of geeks, let's face it, which is why they seem like they're perfect for each other. So it is interesting. One of the great things about going to conventions is not just the fun, but you find out years later all the connections that were made, or all the friendships that were built.
It's true.
So I don't know.
Or bitter rivalries.
Yeah,
those exist too.
They happen. So, but that's you can read about that if you go to our Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention Facebook page. But hats off to Katherine Knowles. We love you to death, kiddo. And she's got a great attitude about stuff. That's the thing.
Yeah.
For an artist, she's not all temperamental. Like Allan. Writers and artists, man, you don't know what you're going to get from minute to minute.
That is true.
That's not true. You know exactly when the full moon's in.
Yeah, good point. So, but so we'll be following that with great interest. But you guys, we're gonna take a quick break, and I guess I'm just gonna unburden myself. It's not a burden, but I'm gonna share my quibbles with the What If series. Anyway.
That's because of our sponsor.
Yeah.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio here on News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Geek Tank Radio. News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis.
Yeah, welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson, here with my friends Brandon Olmsted and Allan Gilbreth, who
slept enough for the sound effects.
And our buddy Max behind the glass, who's trying to keep us awake and make sure we're on point, and never dull moment around here, you guys. So, well, if you're just tuning in, well, I mean, you only missed one segment, but anyway, if you are just tuning in, never fear. You can always check out any of our past episodes at geektankradio.com, and probably a lot of other interesting content floating around over there
Getting there.
And very soon we have a pretty cool announcement. I think we teased it before, but coming soon is going to be some really awesome Geek Tank content on the way. So.
That's true.
Hey guys, so before the break, I was talking about the new show What If, and I think you guys misunderstood my.
No,
well, I don't know that I explained it well enough, but I don't know if this is a beef or it's a concern or it's something. There's a subtle thing going on here with What If that I wanted to roundtable with you guys. So basically, if What If is a new show on Disney Plus based on the comic book What If, which was in Marvel, which is very similar to the DC Elseworld stories, where they might take, for example, what if Clark Kent landed at the Wayne Manor and he became Batman or something.
I do love the idea that you have decided to describe the show by referencing the comic and then comparing it to its blatant ripoff 20 years later.
Did they rip it off? See, I wasn't sure.
Oh yeah, What If is an old comic. And Elseworlds came out much later than that.
That's fine. No, but here's the thing about that. The reason I compare the two is because, like, I have a What If comic where it was basically, what if Wolverine was Tony Stark or something like that? Okay. Like, so in other words, instead of just being a poor, broke, wandering guy, he's some billionaire, but he's also Wolverine. So, but the difference I'm seeing with this is in the What If show, it's all about this multiverse, which is, the new Spider-Man movie, and everything's all about this multiverse.
What If has always been about the multiverse, though?
Has it been?
Yes, your unseen narrator, even though he's seen at the very beginning, Uatu always tells you about how one small thing would change the timeline, which would spark a new universe. Every What If story takes place off of the 616. The 616 is what your basic Marvel universe was, which means that what we were reading about wasn't even the Prime Universe. It was Universe 616.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, because what I'm, now Disney Plus and the Marvel Cinematic Universe they're connected now. There's just no getting around it. They're completely connected. So for the last 10 years, we've been having this whole Infinity War building to basically the high stakes where that Thanos is going to make half the universe disappear. Well, that's pretty big stakes.
Well, yeah.
Well, with this multiverse, what I'm wondering is I feel like having all these different universes lowers the stakes because, okay, well, suppose Tony Stark dies like he did in this last episode. Spoiler. Well, that's just one of billions of others
Well, yeah,
universes, I don't care that much.
Let me put it this way.
So
you've been watching the Marvel Cinematic Universe since its inception, with Iron Man, right?
Right.
You've been a big fan.
Yeah.
You know that is actually Earth 199,999.
Okay, but that's our Earth, 100,000.
No, it's not.
199.
The Earth, the Marvel universe, where they kept the same presidents we had, and we had things like Vietnam sparked storylines and things like that. That's Earth 616.
Okay.
Actually, real Prime Earth isn't even that Earth either. This has always been a Marvel thing. It's been a concept forever. Getting upset about the multiverse and the fact that you're not as invested.
I'm not upset. I'm just saying I don't feel the passion
I didn't say
that
you were
I
upset.
did.
I said that you were not as invested because.
Right.
I mean, the truth is we've seen the MCU, and I'm just going, that's not my Marvel universe. You know why? Marvel universe has mutants in it. There aren't any mutants.
Okay.
It's like, but the stakes don't matter if the story's compelling. You know why? I have perfect examples of that. Captain Marvel, the first Captain Marvel film. Wonder Woman 84, even though it wasn't that great a movie, because you already know what's going on with those same characters in the future. You know that Wonder Woman's not going to die. You know she's not going to lose her powers. You know Carol Danvers is still out there, and the Skrulls aren't.
You're talking about like a prequel situation where you already know who's, like, even the Black Widow movie.
So I mean, there's plenty. What I'm saying is, I'm using those as examples of saying that you can still tell a really compelling story without the stakes being that important. What I have noticed, though, with the Disney series, since WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, is that a lot, and this isn't just you. I'm not criticizing you. This is a major contingent of the fan base. Is that because they're not stuck in this 2 hour to 2.5 hour long. The stakes are high. We got to get this going. There's a lot of people who will talk about these shows. Oh, they're not that good. They suck. Why would they do this as this and not a movie? And it's because you've gotten to the point where, you've got your story beats for a movie. You go back and look at any Marvel film, they all have the same story beats on how you lead to the climax and then the resolution.
Right.
Now you're getting expanded things, so there's a lot of exposition that has to go into it, so you actually understand what's going on in the story, not just they're going to go punch something because it's trying to destroy the world. And I think because we've been fed the other for so long, it's just what we're used to. A really good example is going back to, and I've said it numerous times on the show, is the Walking Dead scene cliffhanger when Negan swings his bat and you don't know who he killed for 3 months because of the cliffhanger. And the internet and fandom in general went crazy because why won't they tell us? Why don't we know? And it's
they don't know what it's like when Captain Picard got
Borged.
And you had to wait 5 months?
It was
a long wait.
It was like an expanded wait because it wasn't just like we've got our 3 summer months and then we're back. We had to wait for whenever syndication of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
That was a true.
We're going to get a new episode.
Yeah,
and so I mean, you end up with this expansion, and it kind of kills the excitement. Because they have to put stuff in there like this. But, I see where you're coming with this. This really is setting up the MCU's version of the multiverse. So it's like, am I going to get to see Haley Atwell playing Captain Carter somewhere in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? So if that character shows up, thanks to What If, you're not like, what's going on here? Now. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't get enough sleep last night. I'm going to stumble a bit.
No, well, the whole premise here is, let's just start with everything about a comic book is an alternative universe.
True.
DC chose to truly have a fictional universe. They're very recognizable places, but Metropolis and Gotham and
they're not in New York,
and they went for their own universe.
And in certain situations, Metropolis may be Chicago. In other times, it's New York.
Metropolis
really
is mostly
depends.
New York, but it moves around a little bit.
Gotham, people will tell you, but Gotham's New York. No, Gotham's in Jersey.
No,
that has
Gotham
been
is,
confirmed.
Yeah, Gotham's across the river.
It's across the river.
Yeah,
right.
It's over there. Of Marvel, back in the early days of Stan Lee, when he was thinking, I'm going to quit or they're going to fire me. They just kind of went, you know what, we're in New York.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I distinctly remember a sapient orangutan riding a horse through Central Gardens, talking about how I can't wait for my SCA friends to see me now. And
this wasn't,
random
guys.
reference.
I just want you to know this was
trying to
not.
think of what he
This
just
was
said
not
there.
in a comic book. This was literally our friends from Shadow Comics.
Yeah, you really threw a curve at. Yeah, okay.
Well, but you're just pointing out they as back in the 70s and before, Marvel took this dive right into the Society for Creative Anachronism as a group active in America. There's a shout out right there in the comic book as this unbelievable comic book character is doing something unbelievable at a Ren fair in the middle of a park in the middle of New York.
And they haven't shied away from it since. I mean, earlier this year, during the X-Men Hellfire Gala, which is just this big party. I mean, it's like it's like the Met Gala just for the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
Even though he's never spoken by name, one of my favorite YouTubers, James A. Janice from Dead Meat, is there at the bar trying to get a drink.
Yeah.
And he's being ignored until Cyclops gets Jamie Madrox to throw one of his multiples at him.
Okay.
And it's like, I mean, these are just, and it's obvious references. Kevin Feige himself is in that issue. He talks to Scott about the idea of doing a movie, and of course we know that Feige is gearing up to bring the X-Men into the MCU.
Yeah. Well, I wonder when we're going to start seeing some of that, because that was sort of the whole point of them buying Fox, right? I mean, one of the points.
Well,
you
get to put a lot of properties that should be under an umbrella with that umbrella.
Yeah.
So I look at the whole thing and I go, all right, guys, we've been in a true multiverse from the very beginning.
Yes.
And it is by virtue of the fact that it is a comic book series, you accepted a multiverse and you agreed to suspend disbelief.
Right.
Because otherwise there's a whole lot of people walking around that should be wearing nothing but spandex, and this would be a very scary multiverse.
I guess the brilliance here too is from what I'm seeing, and I guess when we come back to, we have to at least mention the Spider-Man trailer that dropped. We didn't even discuss that. But what it seems to me that is, if you're a young person, like if you're 8 or 10, you're still, even if you're going to get into this whole multiverse story arc, you're probably still going to have to go back and watch all 22 Marvel movies to get caught up, right? I mean, the marketing is brilliant. They're not just throwing those to the curb.
Well, the great thing about Disney is that they've got them.
Yeah.
And they'll bring them out of the vault every 7 to 10 years.
Oh, no. As far as the
got
Marvel
Disney
movies,
Plus.
you can stream all of them in a week.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, nobody is ever going to cancel Disney Plus. Whatever they're doing so far, they know what they're doing and keeping that subscription going. So,
aren't they, Joe?
You should upgrade to the bundle that includes Hulu and ESPN Plus.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I think I'll do that. Anyway, you're listening. Thanks for the sales pitch. You're listening to Geek Tank Radio here on News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis. We're going to continue our discussion of the multiverse, and then we're also going to talk about teaching history in video games.
Geek Tank Radio. News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmsted and Alan Gilbreth and Maximilian behind the glass. I don't know about that last one. That was a little, what was that, Pee Wee Herman? Little squirrely.
It is related to the convention, so you can't say anything bad about it.
That's a good point.
But I do love the as we go for the entry back into the show, I like how now we're all looking at it like, where's the landmine?
Yeah.
It's going to like, all right, somebody step on it quick.
You don't know what you're going to hear next. So, well, if you're just tuning in, we were talking about the What If series on Disney Plus, and actually it expanded to a bigger discussion of the multiverse. My contention was that by introducing basically an infinite number of universes and focusing stories on each one of those universes, it lowers the stakes, in my opinion, because it's like, well, it's not dealing with my universe. What do I care what Tony Stark's doing over there at universe number 8 million or something like that? But
wow, if that isn't fully meta about the world today,
xenophobia. No, but
what do I care about my neighbor? I'm not going to put on a mask.
Well, it's just, so here was my question, you guys. So in the last 22 movies, basically the big conflict, you could say, was building towards the Infinity War, the Infinity Gauntlet, and up until Infinity War, we saw little snippets of Thanos, but we didn't see a whole lot of Thanos. And to be honest, you guys remember this. I said Thanos is a boring character to me. He's not all that interesting. And then when they actually brought him out, what was it, James Brolin, or who?
Yeah,
he plays him. I suddenly thought, wow, this is a super interesting and compelling character. But the Infinity War really came to life. So I guess what I'm looking at Brandon on this. I'm trying to predict, where are they going with this multiverse thing? Like, is somebody going to basically open it up where they're intersecting and causing chaos, or
they basically screwed everything up at the end of the Loki series, and by getting rid of that version of Kang, they have now opened up for the the interdimensional war with Kang the Conqueror. And here's the great thing: all these other villains you thought you vanquished,
right?
They may be back.
Right.
They may be working for Kang. You thought, and here's the thing: if you feel that Josh Brolin's Thanos is a very complex and interesting character, that is strictly for the MCU.
Right,
Thanos
because in the comics he's a little different.
Thanos is not trying to do anything altruistic. Thanos is trying to kill the most things in the world possible to garner favor with Death, who he is in love with. And that, I'm not talking about like Death as a concept. I'm talking about the character Death, who is a very attractive, curvy woman with a skull head, who is as infatuated with Deadpool as Thanos is with her.
Right. I mean, and so he wants to get rid of as many living beings as possible just to impress her.
It's like when you try to impress someone you're attracted to by buying them a lot of gifts. That's what Thanos is doing.
Okay.
He is paying tribute to his lady love.
Okay.
And horribly, Brandon is dead on the money.
Yeah.
So basically, at the end of this, but when it
comes down to it, with the multiverse, Kang wants to conquer. Yep. Literally, that's why he's called Kang the Conqueror. He wants to take it all over. He wants Thanos was bad as far as he got rid of half the population. He got rid of half the animals, half the everything. Now, honestly, if he really wanted to do something right, he would have snapped his finger with the Infinity Gauntlet and doubled the resources. But, oh my God, that doesn't make a conflict. Anyway.
I didn't even think of that. That's a good point.
The Infinity Gauntlet can do anything.
All Thanos had to do was, go shopping.
Yeah, it was like basically, you put on your
double
pretty,
the resources.
You put on your pretty glove and you go to Target. That's how you do it.
Yeah. And look, you double the number of Funko Pops you have on the wall.
There you go.
There you go.
That's pretty good. I'm surprised I'm surprised Ryan George didn't bring that up in one of the pitch meetings. Like, why didn't he just snap and give us double the Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's a comic book and you must be depressing.
We've all seen the meme where the corporate guy is like, we've got to boost sales. And then one guy says this thing that makes no sense. Then there's another exec who says something, and what she says doesn't make any sense. And then there's a guy at the end of the table who says the most logical answer. Then you see the CEO very angry, and then you see that guy being thrown out a window. That meme didn't come about because someone thought it was funny. That came about because it's true.
Okay. Well, so Brandon, though, with the What If show too, they're putting a lot of emphasis on this guy, the Watcher, who to me just seems boring because he just sits there and watches things. He doesn't influence them. But is he going to be called to action to actually do something at the end of this?
No, that's not his job. That is not his job. And in more cases than not, Uatu has gotten in trouble for getting involved in things that he shouldn't be involved. He has given warnings to the Fantastic Four about Galactus, and he's gotten in trouble for it. He is you. His whole thing is he is watching what's unfolding because that is his cosmic position in the universe.
I like how Joe's looking at a character called the Watcher, whose job is to watch and not interfere. And Joe's waiting on him to punch somebody in the head.
Well, I'm just like, what a boring... It sounds like a couch potato to me. It's like, what is... he's watching stuff.
Yeah,
that's... You should at least...
All right, Joe, he acts like most of the people that come to our convention.
Well, hey, whoa, we love the people that come to our convention.
Right, so you should love Uatu.
Okay, but so it sounds like somebody's going to have to put this back together. I guess the big selling point with this is we may see stories like where Killmonger is actually a hero. He's working with...
Which is coming up. He's working with Tony Stark.
Right. So
he saved Tony when he was a soldier. He saves Tony from that POW camp that he was stuck in, where he built the original Iron Man armor. So instead, he ends up, helping him develop a suit so that he can, rule his country correctly, because he becomes the actual Black Panther in that.
Spoiler. Okay.
Trailer first.
Yeah,
Trailer.
oh
My God! Hey, guess what? Somewhere else in there, Spider-Man's going to end up with the powers of the Sorcerer Supreme and fight a zombie Captain America. You know how I know? Trailer.
Yeah.
Well,
Speaking of trailers,
let's talk about that,
and
Brandon.
multiverses.
'Cause, yeah.
Let's talk about the Spider-Man trailer.
Right.
All right, my favorite scene of all of that is shut up and quit messing with the spell. I was kind of like, that's, it looks like a Sorcerer Supreme dealing with a high school kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like the chemistry between those two. though.
I'm loving these two.
So you got
So you got the two Brits faking to be Americans, faking to be superheroes or whatever else they're doing. It's killing me.
yeah. So but I didn't know there was going to be this much Doctor Strange in the new Spider-Man movie.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
There's
happening, so.
not, and there is. He's going to be the pivotal character. He's going to be the character that causes it. He's going to be the character that has to step in the end. But all of that stuff in the middle is going to be all you, Joe. There's going to be some spider whooping because you got the Sinister Six.
Okay. Well, do we? That's the question. We saw
Did
a
you
little
see- did you
hobgoblin or a green goblin.
I saw
bomb.
Melina on screen with arms. I've seen
He looked good,
So-
Doctor
so-
Octopus.
Doc Ock.
We saw Doc Ock.
I saw Doc
We saw
Ock.
the Goblin Bomb.
All right, I saw those
We saw Electro's power signature.
all right,
I missed that.
you
So
have
we
three
got
villains
Electro.
right there, all perfectly capable of pulling a movie.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if is there ever been agreement on who the Sinister Six is? Because I've heard it's the Vulture or Sandman or Electro. There's like 4 that everybody agrees on, but there's a few that, depending on who
Well,
you
we'll
ask.
just have to see who the mighty F chooses,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that will be the answer.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
but
he's not going to tell you yet because he wants to keep you in suspense.
I mean, there's a reason why we didn't get the trailer until now, because this thing comes out like December 17th.
it looks like a great Christmas movie. That one for sure, and it says in theaters only.
Yep.
So they're really
They say
hoping that things will go
they're
well.
saying that now,
Yeah.
but at the moment with the rates or the
You just don't
cases
know.
rising, yeah, and of course that leads me to wanting to talk a little bit about the convention later on. I am going to let you guys know we do have to cancel
Okay.
the blatant lip off. Our room is just too small to have people, even if they're not actually singing, belting out without a mask on. And what's the point of a lip sync contest if I can't see your face?
I thought the Masked Singer would be great because everybody would sound like they've been kidnapped.
Yeah. So
We don't have the right mics for that.
Yeah, so on the downside, we cancel the lip sync contest. On the upside, Brandon, that means that's another hour of programming. It's not going to just be a dead hour. We'll put something else in there. So,
I've already got something in there. We have to wait for a specific guest to announce it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a good tease. So, hey, Brandon, real quick though, I didn't want to forget something.
Right.
If Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's dicey, it's a Sony and Marvel collaboration,
And it is the final Sony film that is featuring Tom Holland as the MCU Spider-Man by the current contract.
Okay,
there's
so
one more Marvel film that can have the Tom Holland Spider-Man in it by their contract. But that's not to say that this contract won't be expanded, because it's been extremely beneficial for both companies.
No, it's great, but can it be on Disney Plus? That was my question. So,
Well,
or do you
seeing
just gotta get
as
it?
how Sony is putting their movies on Netflix,
Okay.
the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies are there now, and they will be for the foreseeable future. You might have to have both services. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, that's not the
I don't get any bonus for it, so I'm not going to actually push it as you should get them. But
Okay.
you can also buy those Blu-rays.
Okay, sounds good. You can't get a Blu-ray of Geek Tank Radio. Not yet, but who knows what the future will bring.
Alan's prepping it.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio here on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're going to take a quick break and then talk about teaching history through video games.
Geek Tank Radio. News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and our buddy Maximilian behind the glass, who really outdid himself on that. Good job, Max. I'm sure that reflects the feelings of many people listening at the moment. So, but hey, guys, by the way, if you're just tuning in and you missed any of the show, never fear. You can always check out any of our past shows at geektankradio.com, and very soon there's going to be even more content you'll be able to dive deep into. Binge.
You got to stop working me to the bone, Joe.
It's coming soon. So, But also, we want you to go over to the Geek Tank Radio Facebook page and give us a like and interact with us there. We got a pretty nice little community over there.
We do indeed.
And it's a good place for making announcements. And while you're there, scoot over to the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention Facebook page, because especially these days, the convention's only about 2.5 months away. We're plowing forward. We're following all the CDC guidelines. I'm in regular contact with the Memphis Marriott East about what their protocols are. And at the moment, everything looks good for doing the convention. It just might involve a few changes or a few, whatever.
I mean,
things we're all used to already.
It's
anyway,
I mean, the bad news of that part is, it's like we've had to, we won't have our normal board gaming library set up because you can't really sanitize those correctly without destroying them. We do want to let you know that our Lego Lounge is also going to be shut down this year.
Yeah.
But
it's going to be turned into something else.
Yeah. But something we will be instituting is what we are referring to as the chill out room. Sometimes
it's a pretty awesome room.
Sometimes it gets a little overcrowded, or just the anxiety levels get high, and you might just need to sit in a quiet space for a little while. And if you've seen our Lego Lounge for a good chunk of this, that weekend, it will be our chill out space.
Well, and the thing is, the convention itself, people, if you've never been to one, a lot of it is a party atmosphere. And let's face it, a party isn't completely structured. Some of the best stuff that happens is the stuff that happens in those rooms or off in the lobby or outside in the photo ops.
Every once
whatever.
in a while, you got to take your drink outside and just decompress.
Yeah, go hang out by the Ghostbusters car or something. So, but anyway, so keep and if you need to learn anything else about that, go to memphiscfc.com. And of course, we got the perfect celebrity guests who are really just they're being troopers throughout this whole thing. Joel Hodgson, creator of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Thunder Rosa, we got to get her on the show soon, Brandon.
We really do. Yeah. I mean, especially with her latest signing, I really want to talk to her about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Wayne White. So check it out at memphiscfc.com. Well, guys, I mentioned something to Brandon, and he didn't necessarily want to showcase this one particular game because he's not a fan. And he doesn't want to give him free publicity. However, it showcased a bigger discussion.
I will go ahead and say it. All right, guys. The report is that there's going to be a part of Fortnite that incorporates Martin Luther King and the "I Have a Dream" speech.
Right.
The entire thing.
It is Fortnite's new walk through time segment.
And while I think it's a great idea to always include historically accurate things, I don't know if Fortnite is really the place I would want to see it.
See, I don't even know anything about Fortnite, so when you described it, you were like, okay, maybe it's not the right context for that.
Fortnite, I've played it, and while I will tell you it's an addictive cancer, it is a fun game.
Okay.
But I just don't see Fortnite giving the gravitas that is necessary to such a historical moment.
Okay. Well, we were talking about some of these other video games. Okay, a video game is basically an interactive movie, especially with the graphics they have today. So the bigger discussion was, is this a good vehicle for teaching history?
Absolutely.
I mean, I watched my kids playing that Assassin's Creed, and they're marching through historical cities and historical situations. I think it's a great way to teach history myself. I don't know.
Not only that, but like when I think about Assassin's Creed as well, it also kind of, one thing that was really fun for me is learning more about Leonardo da Vinci and like some of his interesting devices that he created. And so like, while many of them were kind of inconceivable, like in terms of like practical applications, you got to see the main character actually interacting with those devices, like plowing through certain areas with Da Vinci's tank, or flying through the air with a flying machine, just stuff like that, or descending with a parachute. So you get to learn about those sorts of unique modes of history through such a media as video games.
Yeah. And didn't they have Didn't they have one where he was the Assassin's Creed was during the Revolutionary War? I thought I saw that
exactly.
Too. Yeah. Okay. See, to me, that's a nice subtle way to teach history.
It really is. And let's just go ahead and look. I'm going to pull a rabbit out of Allan's hat and go ahead and just go into the Wayback Machine. As far back as when I was a kid, we had computer games at school that helped teach lessons. I mean, it's always been video games have been a great teaching tool over the years, and so putting things into mass market video games like like the Spanish Inquisition or like, I mean, just pretty much anything that has been in Assassin's Creed. I mean, Valhalla might not be as straightforward in the historical aspect. It still does, put a spotlight on that time and, just the people, the tribes, everything. And it's really great. I do have a little bit of a worry about using what is essentially a cartoon shoot 'em up free for all to try and teach history.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. You don't want a bunch of goofy stuff in the middle of a Martin Luther King speech.
Right.
That makes sense.
Now, if we were going to walk through the the history of Hollywood and television with Fortnite, that's the perfect setting for it. But
you might want to womp that tap dancer. For
right.
Just, yeah, okay,
it's just it's something that holds such a very important point in the history of our country, being put into such a frivolously insane video game.
Yeah.
Because Assassin's Creed has always been respectful of the times that they're set in.
Well, I was looking at Allan on this one too.
I get a little. I'm a little worried.
Okay, because here's the big thing is, if we're talking about teaching history, let's face it, we're probably talking about young people, teenagers, 12-year-olds, whatever, and we want to find any interesting way to teach that we can. Well, like on YouTube, for example, they have these computer recreations of like, what did Rome look like, 3,000 years ago or something like that, and okay, that's interesting, but I don't know that a 12-year-old is going to click that on. So I feel like there has to be this combination of some fantasy story mixed in with that. I mean, what do you think, Allan? It's like, I feel like you got to have a backdoor way of sneaking in the education, basically.
Well, yeah, again, I'm going to pick on Eddie Izzard for a minute, and I'm going to go with it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Okay.
So if you're going to drag history out and, beat some of the dust off of it and hang it on the wall and go, all right, there they go, the guys there's history. Well, that's not how history happened.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to give me the three-dimensional feeling of what it was like to be in the crowd in Washington Square when JFK said, we're sending men to the moon.
Yeah.
All right, now you're not going to get the same impact because we've already been to the moon, and we've now got movies taking us to, Star Wars and Star Trek and all that. But the thought of standing in that crowd and listening to the President of the United States deliver that speech in these like you would have been there. I think that is an impactful use of history, and I think the video game industry is uniquely qualified to bring us straight events.
I think so too.
Not that we haven't picked on stuff, but what was it like to be a knight? What was it like to be a samurai warrior? What was it like to, something goofy? What would it have been like to have been in the kitchen with Julia Child? What would have been like, but video games are uniquely qualified to kind of give you this interactive 3D movie experience.
And it's not, going back to, using Fortnite, it's not to say that, ridiculous can't teach you history. I mean, there was an entire cartoon called Hysteria that did that. They taught you all about, the history of the world, but they did it in a funny, goofy, all the actors were, characters were little kid ways.
Right.
And, I'm surprised at how many things I learned on that show watching it with my kid sisters.
Yeah.
I mean, they would be
Allan got
his
his history from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
He got his history because he was there.
But I think there's a subtle thing here. I think
when Vesuvius went, you moved.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't wait.
Yeah.
You left a day early.
That's a little meta today, too, isn't it?
I feel like the hook, though, is to make the history kind of in the background, because then the kid or the young person sort of feels like they're discovering it. Like, wait a minute, what is that? I'm going to move my character over there. And I don't know. I just, but it is cool. But I guess there's a balance between being tasteful and educational versus just,
There is something about putting someone into a setting,
right,
and then making sure that setting is accurate yet interesting enough that they search out the history. Which I think you saw more in also in the Assassin's Creed. Man, we are giving all sorts of love to Assassin's Creed.
Mad props, but when you the big story from AC was a guy wandered around a city based fully on his knowledge from playing the game,
right,
and didn't get lost because they actually had all of this, all of the streets, everything was there. And it was just kind of a challenge. He's like, I played the game 1,000 times. I wonder. So, he got out and went, I'm here on the square, and the marketplace should be 2 streets over on the left, and it was. And he walked back over to the cathedral, and there it was.
Yeah. Now that's interesting.
That's pretty awesome.
Wow. That is cool, man. So look at how educational. So, folks, forget college, forget higher education. Sit on your couch and play video games all day, and you will be an elevated human being. Don't laugh at me that way.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm saying, that's pretty much our audience right there.
That's my pitch. Anyway, and once again, before we get out of here, a reminder: go to Geek Tank Radio, our Facebook page. Give us a like. Go to the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention and give us a like. And keep up with us at memphiscfc.com. Well, another diverse show, guys, but we're out. The time's up, so it's time to get out of here. So. Until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Alan Gilbreth.
And I am Brandon Olmsted, challenging you to find the historical significance in Donkey Kong.